video I'm going to be covering the ambush. So the ambush kind of gets into the weeds a bit, but I think that the Small Unit Tactics Manual, they just scratch the surface, and there's really not enough detail to give people a real idea of the capabilities that you have and the concepts that go into it for having a strategic effect or even operational effect. So it's a weapon. The idea of conducting ambush itself is a weapon. It can be used for multiple purposes. Guerrilla forces might use it to get their hands on weapons and equipment, delay certain forces from being able to get somewhere. It can be done in an intentional manner using this Carver Formula, which is more the formula that's used for special operations forces for target selection in and of it themselves. Then the Hasty Method, which patrols like reconnaissance patrols may use in order to evaluate their target first, or the patrol that they see or enemy they see that's moving in their direction, and evaluate them first before deciding to engage. Because hasty ambushes don't always mean that you are engaging. That's where discipline and trusting your leadership actually comes into play. So the Carver Formula, it stands for criticality of the target. So if you're ambushing, you need to know if the convoy or personnel are actually worth taking out because of a security patrol that can just be bypassed. How much of an effect do they actually have? And of course this gets into the weeds of conducting area ambushes when a platoon size element or more or whatever. So it goes into the weeds later on, but the accessibility of the target. So when you're conducting this ambush, how accessible is the area that you're trying to get to? Like in Vietnam, you had to get on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, so how are you going to do that? And how long was it going to take? What kind of gear would you need to take with you, which would obviously accessibility would be affected by that. Because you'd probably have to do it on foot instead of a direct, chopper into the ambush site. Then the recuperability. So if you're taking out logistics or something like that, is there redundant logistics capability, or is it really going to have much of an effect? Is it just like a small resupply, but they already have stuff on hand? Are you going to be taking out a patrol that has a lot of good augments to them, like a dog team of their own, a demolitions team, an EOD team, and stuff like that? That's the only one in the area, and it could take a week to get somebody new. You really want to know that. Then the vulnerability. How vulnerable are they? How easily will you be able to surprise them and deliver violence of action on that target? And then the effect on the populace. If you're operating in an area where there's populations and stuff, are you going to make them hate you, or are you going to, is it possible that there might be civilians that are with them, like civilian contractors that are doing like construction, like on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, as it were? So you got to realize if you're going to have an effect on the populace and endanger them and stuff like that. So, or even their infrastructure that they rely on. So it does get into the weeds. And then the recognizability. So when you're going after this target, is your patrol going to actually be able to recognize it? If you were actually delivering a patrol order for an ambush, are they going to be able to recognize the target that you're talking about in order to fulfill your intent? You got to know that. Like in McAfee Sog's case, they were coming up with their own targets, so they were operating in small teams, so yeah, they were able to, communicate and study their targets accordingly. So, anyways, like in the Cold War, if they were preparing to take out an anti-air battery, they needed to be able to recognize the difference between the different anti-air batteries, because if you just leave it vague, and they might take out a vague anti-air battery that's probably not going to be able to target the specific planes on your side that, higher the commander's intent is to take out. They might want to be taking out a SAM battery instead of just, a machine gun air battery. Because they want to send jets in or helicopters, and they don't want missiles going after them. They don't care about ground fire like bullets. So you got to have recognizability for that specific target that's being intended to be hit. And then there's extras like the political ramifications and military ramifications of the host nation forces, and also the your own. So you got to have that consideration. And then the hasty ambush. Again, you may not actually fire on the target. So you got to select your targets and stuff like that. So you do want to kind of be picky, because you can call off an ambush at the last minute, even if it's a deliberate ambush. You got to decide that on the fly, if it's worth doing. And then, of course, there's different types and formations that you can conduct. And the formations are really the shape of the ambush and stuff like that. So, yes, typically this is pre-planned, like the type of, the shape of the ambush that you're going to be conducting, but you might actually get there and the map reconnaissance was not all that well, or they may have changed, like in Vietnam, they might have logged an area where you have to shift where you conduct the ambush, and you might have to shift the formation based on where you go. So you do have to kind of be flexible. So you have to have a team that's capable of conducting the operation using initiative in some cases. And then there's the types of ambushes, obviously near, far, and it's going to depend on the objective and how you're going to actually harass that target or destroy it. You might even be conducting a prisoner snatch, which Mac v. SOG would do, or at least attempt, but yeah, depends on the goal. And then, of course, there's IADs and rehearsals. So, unfortunately, the Hasty Ambush is not really practiced all that much by militaries as much, probably because of the situations that they're in and the threats that they actually deal with. Even though they claim to be prepping for near-peer threats or whatever, they don't really do all that great of a job, because they're preparing to operate in the desert more than they're preparing to operate in the jungle, given that everything's turning brown, including the weapons. So, anyways, the next is rehearsals, and I should have put something here, but rehearsals. Obviously, you're going to have to do rehearsals for the ambush that you're going to be conducting if you're selecting your own target or whatever. But if you're out in the field and you're conducting a reconnaissance patrol, it's more going to be a visualization rehearsal, and constantly going over that, and maybe just a minor rehearsal through a sand table or something like that on the fly, or if you have a computer out in the field, which typically these days they will, it'll be an illustration and stuff like that. So instead of a physical rehearsal, but you want to do as much as you can, obviously. So there's a good amount that goes into an ambush patrol that kind of goes outside of what you're given in, the textbooks and stuff like that. And you can easily have a good effect on a target from a near ambush that's not going to allow them to actually counter your ambush and stuff like that. But that's where you have actual tactics that are kind of fixed, where everybody's going to use it, such as security elements giving early warning and stuff like that, security all around, in case somebody takes a different route. Instead of just following a road, they actually follow their own path or whatever, unless you're using vehicles. So there has to be some kind of flexibility there, and you got to be able to, kind of work on the fly. So, it is what it is, but let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate you guys watching, and you guys have a good one.